I'm Hal Eisner, Fox 11 News.
Just in time for the weekend.
It's going to be a warm one, too.
Yeah.
Things are warming up. All right, so joining us now, Congressman Brad Sherman. He represents the 30th District, which includes parts of the San Fernando Valley. Actually, Sherman Oaks.
Brad Sherman from Sherman Oaks.
Yeah. Welcome.
Good to be with you.
Go ahead.
Oh, so I'm glad to see you got through the water main break that's apparently outside our door here. But you work a lot in D.C. working on foreign policy for our state. You're in the non-proliferation subcommittee, and you were one of the people that escorted Netanyahu while he was here. So what do you think about the U.S.'s deal with Iran that we've made?
The deal hasn't been made yet. It shapes up. If we get what we're trying to get, it'll be a mixed bag. It will slow down Iran's progress to a nuclear weapon, and will put us in a position, with the next president, of deciding what else we want to do. The deal will not be binding on the United States because Congress is not going to endorse or approve the deal.
So then why do a deal?
Well, we want to get Iran to ship its stockpile of enriched uranium out of the country and at least put them several years away from a nuclear weapon. If instead we were to do nothing, they would be closing in on enough enriched uranium for a nuclear bomb.
You're also on the subcommittee for terrorism as well. Talk to us a little bit about ISIS. You know, it was just last week that we had two individuals here in the Southland, in Anaheim, that were apparently on their way to Israel. They believe perhaps to join ISIS as well. So there's certainly a lot of anxiety here with the problems of ISIS brought here to the U.S. and also what our role is going to be in Iraq and Syria.
We've got to battle ISIS long-term, both in physical space and in cyberspace. We have got to counter their propaganda and demonstrate that this is not real Islam that ISIS is pushing. At the same time, the Middle East is so complicated. Yes, you want to say, well, ISIS is the bad guy. ISIS spends a lot of their time fighting Assad, also the bad guy. Assad is the guy we almost bombed, and ISIS are the folks we're bombing now. And what we need to stay away from is that quick fix idea. Oh, just send in 10,000 troops, 20,000 troops, and you'll solve the problem.
I think more and more Americans realize we're not going to solve the problem when we have America signing up for ISIS. And you talk about the online propaganda that is very, very strong, that you have these young kids, teenagers, buying tickets to join them, or if they're not, ISIS says, hey, hang out where you are and, perform terrorism wherever you might be. I mean, is that a threat that we need to take much more seriously?
Well, I think we already do take it seriously, and we can't demand that our government assure us that we're totally safe. We're not going to be totally safe, and as a politician, I don't like to say that.
Sure.
But there are traffic accidents, and there are misguided American teenagers and young men who may be swayed by this.
But
there are many threats to us.
What strategy is there in place to try and prevent that domestic problem that we might have here?
Well, first, don't let ISIS be successful on the ground there. That's their #1 propaganda tool. We're building a caliphate, so don't let them build a caliphate. Second, try to reach out to Muslim Americans here with a positive message. Third, I've called on Twitter to stop being so accessible to ISIS. They're very slow to take down ISIS propaganda. Facebook does a much better job. So you've got to combat them ideologically, you've got to combat them technologically, and you've got to combat them both here and there.
You also are sponsoring this bill, right? The too big to fail bill for these banks. They were all these banks that were bailed out essentially, and many feel like it didn't really come back to the American people in terms of helping lift us out of the recession. So tell us about this bill that you sponsored with Bernie Sanders.
I don't agree with Bernie on everything, but this is something we've worked together on for many years. Too big to fail should be too big to bust. Never again should we have a big bank able to call Washington and say, we're going down and we're so big we're taking the whole economy down with us. And it sounds radical to talk about breaking up the big banks, But the fact is that would give us strong regional banks where local businesses could actually meet with the top bankers. And in fact, the bill is supported by 90% of the banks in this country.
That's shocking.
Yes, the independent community banks, which are 6,000 of the 6,600 banks in the country, support the bill because they're tired of competing with these large banks that enjoy this unfair advantage.
Sure.
And that advantage is people will lend them money for less because they figure that even if the bank screws up, Washington will bail them out. And they know that the little banks don't get bailed out. So it's time for all the banks to compete on an equal playing field.
Well, who are you getting pushback from?
Just all of Wall Street,
right.
All of the power in Washington. We've been working on this bill since 2009, and I wish I could come and tell you, oh, it's set for a vote and it's going to be close. This is a bill that we're going to keep pushing, but I don't expect it to pass this year.
So you're not supporting Bernie Sanders for president?
No, I'm supporting Hillary Clinton for president.
There you go.
You're a Hillary supporter?
Absolutely, have been for a long time.
Okay, we're running out of time, but really quick, I wanted to ask you about the trade bill. Mm-hmm. What's your position on it, and as Californians, what do we need to know about it?
Well, this fast-track bill is going to be bad for the U.S. economy, just as our trade policy has been bad. We have a $500 billion trade deficit year after year. We need expanded trade, but we need fair and balanced trade. And going further in the direction of building a trade deficit, importing a lot, exporting a little, is not going to build jobs. It's not going to build an egalitarian society either. So we need to back off these deals that have cost us so many jobs, especially cutting a deal with Vietnam where the pay is 60 cents an hour. How do you turn to American workers and say, you get to compete against 60 cent an hour wages? And the other thing is the deal as structured would really help China without getting us any access to China's market, because goods could be 90% made in China, 10% made in Vietnam, and have free access to the U.S. market.
We've got to get you back on to talk more about this because we're out of time. We're just getting started. Congressman Brad Sherman, thank you.